Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome to my Let's Try of Stuffed, an adorable 3D action platformer by Failed2Compile Studios, aka a group of students at the Michigan State University Game Design program. Due to the short nature of the game, I'll be completing the entirety of it in this video. In this game, we take on the role of the titular stuffed the teddy bear, who must make his way through a rather dangerous toy world and defeat a puppet wizard who has not only kidnapped his two best friends, a stuffed lion and a stuffed eagle, but has also transformed them into monsters. So now we need to find our trusty umbrellas, defeat the wizard, and save our best friends. So let's quickly go over the controls here. Left analog stick in order to move around the world, right analog stick to move around the camera, right bumper in order to reset the camera position to be forward facing, and A button to jump. When in mid-air, press A again to do a double jump, or mid-air jump. So the first stage is essentially a tutorial world, showing us the ropes. Although there are plenty of spots for speedrunning in this first stage. Like for example over here, you can avoid jumping on top of those moving platforms and instead jump on the sides of these walls. And there's our first umbrella, the broken one. This will allow us to attack enemies by pressing the X button and zipline by jumping on the ropes. The gameplay is initially very easy, but it'll slightly get more difficult near the end. And I gotta say, I really like the cutesy, cartoony graphics. It really feels like it takes place in a toy box world. Sadly, there's an invisible wall over here, so we can't just circumvent this part of the stage. And the light-hearted, upbeat tunes playing in this stage, and most of the stage actually, add to the toy box feel. It's wonderful. How to skip this challenge entirely 101. There are a lot of places you can bypass challenges in stage 1, but they're rectified in the next two stages. And these flags act like checkpoints. If you end up dying, you'll be sent back to the last checkpoint. On the top left is our health bar, 5 hits until we fall. But of course, falling to bottomless pits is instant death. And these gray blocks over here, they're actually non-solid. So don't try jumping on top of them. I learned that the hard way during one of my test runs. And I forgot to introduce this enemy type. The rolling duckies are the easiest enemy type. They quack at you, then they try ramming into you, dealing 1 point of damage. But they die to 1 hit as well. And here's a second enemy type, these toy planes. They orbit around a certain region, firing projectiles at you. Right now there's no way to deal with the projectiles, so the only thing we can do is just destroy them. They do take 3 hits to destroy though. And here's our third enemy type, the turrets. They continuously fire those pellets at regular intervals. Funnily enough, you can actually destroy them by striking them 3 times. By the way, these red blocks here, they're actually instant dead no matter what side you touch them on. I found it out during test runs. And there's the end of the tutorial world. On to level 2. This game certainly feels like it's aimed at a younger audience, judging by the rather easy difficulty curve, and the cutesy, cartoony visuals and music. I don't mind it though. The introduction of enemies and gimmicks are done rather well, and the control scheme is very tight. There are no dropped button inputs whatsoever. and over there we gained access to the fixed umbrella. This will allow us to parachute down, and allow us to float upwards on top of those fans. This also allows us to bypass certain challenges. It seems to take a random number of hits to destroy those turrets. Like for this one it took 5 hits, for that one it took 2 hits. There are 2 things I want to show in this segment before I go on top of those air vents. See these spikes? These spikes can actually damage enemies as well. Of course, it's only noticeable in this segment, unfortunately. If there were more stages to this game, I could see several uses for luring enemies into spikes. And these are actually solid objects as well. Too bad there aren't any optional collectibles in this game. I know this was done as a student project, but still, I would have liked it if there was some red coins, red stars, or other optional collectibles to incentivize players to explore and comb other parts of the stage. As it stands right now, it's very straightforward. I know this is designed for kids, but I'd still like some more replayability, as well as adding the possibility of adding optional areas that are more difficult than the rest. And here's our third and final umbrella, the reflective umbrella. Now we can block projectiles using the left trigger and even reflect some right back at enemies. Now we can easily deal with those airplane enemies. You're supposed to land on top of that orange moving platform, but I'd rather take the quicker, easier route. And unlike the previous segment, over here you're forced to use the reflective umbrella. As indicated by the button prompt, in order to destroy this mega turret, which takes 2 reflective large cannonballs to the face before it gets destroyed. And that was level 2. And now we're in the third and final regular level of this entire game. And unlike the previous 2 levels, which had a very upbeat, lighthearted tune, this one has a more serious one. Makes sense considering that we're entering the wizard's lair, but even though this is a little bit more serious, it still maintains a more jovial, lighthearted feel. Also, for some reason, these spikes don't exist. I guess these are just background details, adding to the toy-like feel of this world. Another nice touch, the first two stages took place in a much more brighter field world. Like the void used to be a much lighter shade of purple, now it's a darker shade of purple. There's me failing to use the correct umbrella there. I knew that was going to happen eventually. Would have preferred if there was an option to increase the draw distance, because some of the pop-in is noticeable, like over here. Here's what I was going to demonstrate. You can completely circumvent the zip lines over here and directly go onto the fans. So I do like there is some speedrunner potential in this game, with shortcuts and whatnot. Apparently my double jump didn't reset over there. Well, maybe not full-blown oh, okay, that's why. When I'm running down slopes, I can't... Okay, for some reason it didn't work over there. Okay, if I'm running at full speed down a slope, it'll count as a double jump. Sometimes. But as I was saying, these might not be major shortcuts, but they are small shortcuts nonetheless. I would have liked if there was more major shortcuts for more speedrunner-savvy players, but this works already. I like the level design, I like the introduction of enemies and gimmicks, the music, the graphics, the overall feel. For a student-made project, this is wonderful. And I would like to see a more full-blown title kickstarted and whatnot. I definitely play it. It has a very cohesive and fun feel. And I'd like to see more challenge-oriented levels based on all of the umbrellas that we have. Here's what I meant to do over here. And this time the turret only took one strike to be destroyed. I'm not sure why there is an inconsistency over there. All the other enemies die in a consistent number of hits. Here I'm demonstrating the instant death property of those red blocks. Now we need to time our ziplining. And that's the end of the stage. Now we're on to the boss fight against the wizard. And I gotta say, I love the character design of all the characters. They really feel like toys slash plushies. Time to face the wizard. For this first phase, he throws these lines of dark magic. Then these dark balls. Then he fires a large dark laser. Here's your chance to just wail on the wizard. His current health is on the top right. Then after you wail on him several times, we move on to the second phase, where you need to float on top of these fans and destroy these orbs, which continuously summon in all of these airplanes. However, once we destroy one of these orbs, any planes that were summoned by the orb immediately get destroyed. There are 4 in total in this phase. And then he falls from the sky and takes massive damage. And now he's in his 3rd and final phase. Just stand in place and reflect all these projectiles back at him. And that's it. That's the end of Stuffed. You know, for this type of game, considering how easy the rest of the game was, easy and simple, I was expecting this boss fight to be a lot more of a slug match, a pretty easy one, but no, it was more complicated and more advanced than what you expect. It had 3 distinct phases that well utilized all of the weaponry, or rather umbrellas that Stuffed have access to. The regular umbrella, the parachuting umbrella, as well as the reflective one. So nice combination of all the gimmicks and things that we learned in the rest of the game. We even had all the enemies from the previous parts of the game, the rubber duckies as well as the airplanes. If there's only one minor complaint about this boss fight, or rather the demo or this game, it's the fact that we don't fight the monstrous forms of our friends. Then again, the 3 phases of this final boss fight do make up for it. And the actual reason why the wizard kidnapped Stuffed's friends, it's because he wanted friends. And just like many other of these games, defeat means friendship, and they all walk together as friends. I wonder what happens to all the rubber duckies and airplanes though. I guess they were all summoned in by the wizards, so they're not hostile anymore. So everyone lived happily ever after, the end. Great work everyone at Failed2Compile Studios. This was a short and very pleasant experience. I can't emphasize enough how pleasant of a platforming experience this was. Based on the visual appeal and the music, this is definitely designed for a younger audience as well as the difficulty, but there's a surprising amount of depth here, especially with the final boss encounter and how it incorporates all the things you learn throughout the game. All the umbrellas, Stuffed's moves, as well as the enemies. Some suggestions would be to add some extra collectibles like 3 or 5 red coins or teddy bears or something, so you can incentivize players to explore more parts of the stage, as well as make secret avenues for more skilled players to go through, and maybe add more skips for more speedrunner savvy players. But I guess there wasn't enough room for it due to the lack of time, as well as there being only 3 levels. I'd love to play a bigger kickstarted version of this title. It has a lot of potential, combined with the tight controls and superb understanding of 3D platforming design. It's wonderful. There are no places where the camera made my experience miserable, and none of the challenges felt unsurmountable. All the deaths were my fault and me trying to show off but failing. There was only one glitchy area with the jumping down a slope, but other than that, there were no bugs whatsoever throughout this demo. I will say one thing though. In the controller layout settings, it should list over here that if you press the right bumper, it'll reset the camera. Everything else is explained in the game itself. Also, you may want to add keyboard controls, even though I don't recommend playing on a keyboard, at least for those who only have keyboards. Well then, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Toodles!